What's up? What's up? What is up? It's another Friday on the earlier side. That's East Coast. You can imagine what Central Time looks like. On the earlier side, it's the whole crew coming to you. It's the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, where sports, business, and entertainment collide. Every Friday, we get together and record the most magnificent exchange of sports, business, and entertainment analysis this side of the Mississippi. Maybe on the other side of the Mississippi. That's what we do. So welcome to the experience. It is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk. It's a little earlier, but we're going to still bring the funk. We do it rough, rugged, and raw. It's the only way we know how to do it. This particular episode is called Retirement Funds. That's right, retirement funds. And for those who don't know, our retirement fund is a special fund which people pay into so that, the dog even knows what it is.
Say it
so that when they retire from their job, they will receive money regularly as a pension. Here on the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, we take common terms like retirement funds, and we do a few things to it. We put our sauce on it, and you'll see the connection to sports, business, entertainment. It has been a week full of retirement. It's been a week full of investing. It's been a week full of the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, figuring it all out. So fasten your seatbelt. Don't go nowhere. Welcome to the early edition of the Ball Hawk Sports Talk, and let's go. Wake up, wake up, wake up, and stay woke. Because this is the Ball Hawk Sports Talk with your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South. This is the place where sports, business, and entertainment collide. And we're going to give it to you rough, rugged, and raw. So come get you a spoonful, like some grits with butter and salt. You know how we do it in the South, y'all. Make sure you do not get caught in your feelings. Strap on your seatbelt and enjoy the ride. Come on, let's go. Yeah, Bankhead, bounce on them. You know what it is, man. It's another Friday, so you get the crew together. We start in the Central Time Zone, straight from the Ball Hawk Sports Talk crew. You know who we got. We got the Big Flow Show. What up, my brother?
Good early morning. What's good, all y'all good people out there in the podcast world? It's earlier here than it is there, so by default, I work harder than both of these two, by default. Well, good morning to y'all.
I'll take that jab, man. You whispering because your wife's still asleep.
She protested. My wife sleeping in the restroom. She's protested. Y'all messing with my marriage.
Yeah, you talking all tough, but I bet you won't say it on live. I bet you won't say nothing tough. Like, you was talking tough.
Man, let her go sleep over there, man. I ain't nobody worried about her doing that. I know she's not listening. She sleep.
She sleep. We got also go be in the.
When she wake up, I'll be shutting up again.
In the Eastern Time Zone, we got none other than our guy, the resident ETP Elster producer. What's up, my brother?
Man, you done went mute on us.
Yeah, you went mute on us, ETP. I know you got on the Boston Celtics hat, and you think people don't want to hear you, man. But we want to hear you.
Hear all that.
Let's try it again.
I have a complex. I figure you guys, you're sick of hearing about my Boston championship ways. So,
oh gosh, championship.
Man, I'm feeling pretty old today. It's first thing I saw when I woke up. Today is the 49th. I'm not this old, but the 49th anniversary of the birth of hip hop. So,
it happened yesterday.
Big Flo got Biggie behind him. I got a little Run DMC photo up there.
I got Dapper Dan in hip hop.
Okay, I got my Ice Cube shirt on.
Okay.
So, happy birthday to hip hop, baby.
Happy birthday, man.
I didn't know I was older than hip hop.
Yeah, you older than hip hop, son.
How old are you? Older than hip hop. I'm gonna start telling people that when they ask me the question.
Don't play with me, boy. I'm older than hip hop.
Retirement.
I don't know if you want to
go back in my room and cry now.
Yeah, I know, right? You might not want to brag about that, but let's
a little bit older though. Me and hip hop we graduated high school the same year.
You babysat hip hop.
Yeah,
when it was
we same year. We same year high school. Me and hip hop.
Hey, I say that this particular episode of Retirement Funds, hopefully, I hope the hip hop dudes have retirement funds. Anyway, I digress. This episode of Retirement Funds, man, was inspired by none other than the GOAT,
Me?
Serena. No, I ain't saying you, man. I ain't never called you the
I
GOAT.
thought, I mean, you
If I ever call you the GOAT, wake me up and slap me, because I must be dreaming or something. I don't know what.
Dreaming. Don't be dreaming about me, dog.
Yeah, I know. Make sure you slap me if I do.
You better wake up and apologize.
Yeah, wake up and apologize. The GOAT, and I say the GOAT because most people have accepted that she is the GOAT of tennis. Broadly. Not just women's tennis, but all tennis. But I say the GOAT maybe even more broadly than that. Serena Williams, the younger of the Williams sisters, she who has dominated the sport for as long as I can remember. She ain't as old as hip hop, but as long as I can remember, she's dominated the sport. Hip-hop. She has announced this week that she indeed is retiring. So this episode, Retirement Funds, is inspired by Serena. And let's just start a very general conversation. Like we say every week, for those of you who are joining us live, first of all, thank you. And we ask you humbly, please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe to both the podcast and to the YouTube channel. So, and we always encourage our live audience, please participate. So I'm asking the two gentlemen, one that happens to be in the Central Time Zone, one that happens to wear a doggone Boston Celtics hat. I ask you guys on the record early on this particular Friday morning, earlier than normal, is Serena Williams the GOAT, period? Not the GOAT women's tennis player, not the GOAT tennis player, not the GOAT black athlete. Is she the GOAT, period, in terms of all athletes? Across sports, across genders, across all walks of sports life, is she the best to ever do it? Question mark.
Pause. I think for me, yeah. I mean, really, if you think about her accomplishments, so, obviously the first one comes to mind, everyone, is Jordan. But could Jordan have done it without Pippen? Could Jordan have done it without Phil? Could Jordan have done it without the Worm? Could Jordan have done it if this person played? It's just her. It's just her. Every once in a while it's doubles, and they're definitely the GOAT doubles players, her and her sister of all time. But it's just you. When you're an individual sport like that, you go out there, you play the best. You can't. It's not like boxing where you could dodge people. You go in the same tournaments. All the good people are in the tournament. You win. Mm-hmm. It's so unarguable when it comes down to an individual sport like tennis. You just so little factors, and then she played for so long. She didn't miss a lot of people. I mean, some of the people that you might, Martina Navratilova.
She didn't miss a lot. Oh, meaning competing against them.
Yeah, but she everybody who was in her era though, which is a long era, got some of that. She got a piece of that. So the evidence is there. I'm gonna give her GOAT status, not just because she's retiring, and not just because she's real thick. Oh, I'm sorry.
Because are we live? Hold on. Are we live? Having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, my bad.
Yeah, so it's a hard thing to put one athlete in. I think to Flo's point, when it's a team sport, it's even more challenging. But to hands down dismiss or put her above like a Muhammad Ali or a Tiger Woods or Lewis Hamilton, there's a lot of these individual sport athletes that have just dominated their respective sports as well. So it's hard, but with Serena, the crazy thing is, if Serena didn't exist, we'd be talking about, is Venus Williams the greatest tennis player of all time? And we don't even have that conversation because Serena raised the bar so high beyond what Venus started. And so anybody that crip walks on the All England Lawn Club should definitely be given at least, a lot of first ballot votes for the GOAT. So she has her career is unmatched. I think it's tough. I want to see her, she's going out, she's going to play the US Open. This will be her last one. I want to say she's got it in her to beat the record, but there's always this asterisk about, she's tied with Margaret Court. Margaret Court was before the the Open era, and so that she her titles were against some amateurs, and so I just wish it was undisputed, because everybody, all the naysayers will always go back and say, oh well, she doesn't have the most titles, so how can she be the GOAT? But it's a different time.
Jordan don't have the most titles.
Well, yeah, exactly. But it's always been a thing, like, because I mean, the difference is just the way that there were black tennis players before Venus and Serena, right? Althea Gibson and Arthur Ashe and Mallory Washington, and it was unique. But the way that Venus and Serena have created this legacy, so we're talking beyond the game, right? Like, or actually part of the game, just the Sloane Stephens, the Naomi Osakas, the Coco Gauffs, like what it did in terms of just creating generations of tennis talent from places that historically weren't ever getting that representation. Like, that alone is a major star on her side in terms of being considered the GOAT, right? Like the cultural shift where we're not talking about tennis 30 years ago, right? Like golf, tennis, like that stuff it's bougie and it's wealthy and it's white and it's.
But you said the G word. You said the golf word. That means that Tiger Woods might have to slip in there.
That's what I said. It's hard to dispute Tiger Woods. That's what I said to start. Like to Tiger Woods, the way Tiger Woods changed his game and the amount of success that he had and the way that he was just destroying the competition, it's hard for me to just say automatically, Serena's that. But I think what she embodies overall and the positive impact she's had culturally, and the reality is she kind of, I don't want to say she took some years off early on, but her and her sister, they were focused on fashion and things off the court. So they kind of had this gap in their career where they weren't as successful, where if you filled that gap with their consistent, dedication, then she would have had basically like a 25-year run of excellence.
And the king himself, their dad, King Williams, is what's the name of the movie about him? King Richard. Sorry. King Richard, in his infinite wisdom, in trying to make sure they never played against each other in certain tournaments, might be the biggest reason why she doesn't get the title.
Yeah.
If you think about it. I mean, we weren't thinking about it at that point. We were like, what, good for him. He's in control of the narrative. He's running the business. It's their brand. They don't need to play each other. But now, when she's at the end of it, it could have been a few more victories in there, a few more trophies that would have sealed this. But for me, and you talk about sort of that generational wealth to really kind of play into this topic of retirement fund, she did create a generational wealth when it comes to sort of the other young tennis players that decided to play tennis from communities that traditionally, like you said, had not produced tennis players. A lot of that, I think, is sort of the payoff of all of the sacrifices that not only Serena and Venus made, but everyone that was in their camp. But I got to give her the GOAT of all time, because she was able to do it on courts that were predominantly white, amongst crowds that were predominantly white, in a sport that did not embrace her in her culture. While we celebrate her doing a sea walk at Wimbledon and whenever she, I don't remember when did she see? Was it Wimbledon she sea walk?
Yeah.
Straight from Compton, sea walking. While we embraced it, there's an entire international community that looked at her as though you just proved that you don't belong on these courts. There's an entire community that looked down on her through their glasses. I envision the snooty look, nose in the air, looking down at Serena Williams. She was able to do it despite the cultural aspects of what she was up against. And to me, it's very similar to how we discussed, and we'll get to Bill Russell as well today at some point, but it's how we discussed Bill Russell and while chronologically, you look at when she played, you think, oh, no, racism wasn't as bad then. Racism was just as bad, but it came in different forms. And in that particular venue, in that particular world, in that space, in tennis, it was up front, in your face, and she was able to overcome that. I give her the GOAT for some of the things that she was able to accomplish in that particular sport. But she absolutely awakened the entire generation to what tennis could be in our community. And so I salute her. I give her GOAT status across all sports, across all genders. Serena. She likes me too. Like Serena likes me deep down. She married.
We figured out that was a ghost account, by the way, everybody. I don't know what you're talking about.
But me.
If you take away what she overcame racially, still the GOAT. Like, you know what I mean? Like you can peel away some of the stuff. But you know what you said something that kind of like I think people forget. I mean, Venus was on that track, the trajectory to be the greatest ever, had it not been for her sister. I remember when she started first. I remember when we started saying, "Man, I wonder if Serena could be better than Venus." And they started playing each other. Venus used to whoop her in the tournaments. Then Serena would win one. I used to think that they'd flipped a coin. Her dad flipped a coin and said who got to win because they would go back and forth. But like. It's like Venus passed her, and then we looked up, and it was like, Serena passed her, and it was like Venus who? But you're right. I mean, like when you go to the greatest players ever, had it not been for Serena, we would be having this conversation about Venus, right?
Yeah.
Because she was doing a lot of the winning, and she kept losing to her sister.
And it's not even a conversation. Like it's not even a question of like, oh, who's better? Like,
Serena but for a while, there was a good stretch in there. When when Serena first came on the scene, waiting while Venus was killing, and we forget about this. So it's like, damn, Venus.
I gotta ask my big brother how that is, man. When the little siblings just come and make everybody forget about you. Yeah, man. My big brother was on track, and then here I come. You know what I mean? In my handsome-tivity. That's what happened.
Antonio Brownish.
How did you make this about you? I just found a way. Conveniently, that's how I did it. So I don't think that in this particular room we're going to have anybody disagree that Serena is the GOAT across all sports, across all genders. We do ask our audience, please participate. Let us know if you think Serena is the GOAT. And if not, then who? I love Michael Jordan, but I can't say across all sports. And it's a team sport.
What do you think she's going to do? What do you think she's going to do next? Like she has to play one last tournament. Does she walk? Does she break the record? Does she go out early? Is it going to be respectable? Like what's going to happen?
She'll do all right, but she's not going to win.
She's not going to win, man.
She's trying to hype herself up to win, but that ship sailed. She's done with this stuff.
What up, Dennis Collins? My man D Collins says Ali, greatest of all time across all sports, is an individual sport. That's an individual sport.
He's not the greatest. I'm sorry. He's very, very great.
Ali has all the same remarkable, socially remarkable accomplishments in terms of what he was able to accomplish. I mean, it put him in jail for his beliefs.
The crazy thing about Ali, though, the really interesting thing about Ali is he started the whole concept of being the greatest of all time. Like that's his line, right? His brand, the way his marketing, greatest marketing athlete of all time. He's the originator of even the concept.
So like, we're not even having this concept. Take the title away from him. Like he started it. How you gonna take my title?
I coined this term GOAT. So you know, if nothing else, I get credit for it.
Did he have a clothing line? He had a clothing line. Great GOAT, greatest of all time. Back in
they have it
90s,
now,
right?
No, they have it now. I think they bought the intellectual property rights to Ali, and now they have it. That was
so for that you just got to give it to him. You can't take it. I'm the first one to say I'm the greatest of all time.
Trademark. It's trademark.
I'm older than hip hop. He's older than the term with the GOAT. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, he outlived just like you outlived hip hop. He outlived GOAT.
I can't remember.
Your old somewhat bitch.
Unfortunately, my memory started after
that. I do like my man Crit. Crit says Tiger pulled off one more green jacket and no one thought he would ever win another tournament. I like that, and fairy tale story endings are great, but tennis, you gotta do a lot more running. I think Father Time just plays a bigger role in tennis than it does in golf. And Serena's got to do a lot of running in order to win the U.S. Open.
He also won a tournament on a broken leg. Like that's
But can you say the Tiger's better than Jack Nicklaus?
Absolutely,
I would absolutely say that.
I would say that.
Yeah, I don't
He
know
doesn't
the
have
stats.
more titles than him.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a title sport. This isn't like teams where you can say, yeah, but you don't have no more titles than him.
There was a lot more competition internationally when Tiger was playing. Like I just feel like not just more competition in the sport, but internationally.
LeBron got more competition than Jordan.
Just the dominance, like the pure maybe Tiger didn't have as long as of a run, but the pure dominance when Tiger played, I think he had no competition for a long stretch.
Had he not caught that first golf club from his ex-wife, it would be no competition, but he couldn't overcome that.
I think that's the interesting part of it, the ifs in there. When we talk about these retirement funds, if you will, and all of the things that these athletes invested into their careers and how they ultimately pay out, there's always an if in there. Because we start off with, well, if King Richard hadn't been so great at his business prowess, Serena would have more championships. In those first few years when Venus and Serena were both on top,
if was a fifth, we'd be off.
If was a fifth. If Jordan didn't take them 2 years off, a year and a half off, you know what I'm saying?
Maybe he did. Yeah, maybe he gets hurt. Who knows?
Yeah. Always an interesting if. We'll give the audience the last word. We'll leave it open-ended. Please. We do like to hear from you all when it comes to these topics. While we analyze it, in this episode of Retirement Funds, we start off with the biggest retirement announcement in a long time. Serena Williams is calling it quits. She is now going to invest more time into all the other things that she does, into her family, into her fashion, into all the things that at one point detractors called a distraction. She's going to invest more time into that. She has ownership now, and she's ready for life after. But in this same week, retirement week, because we are sports enthusiasts, we asked, is Serena Williams the greatest athlete of all times across all sports, across all genders? What say you, Ball Hog Sports Talk? What do y'all say? Let's hop into one more topic, guys. Because I got something I got to get into. But before we do, because I had a moment where I was a bit vain. And my last name is Brown. Had a moment where it was all about me.
How do you define a moment?
It was a moment in time where
define that.
It was all about me. The guy who has 6 nicknames, but it was only a moment.
Self-given.
Self-given nicknames. That's me. Even me in my amazingness, I fall short of my cousin them because I'm not vain enough. In this episode of Retirement Funds, we have in this week, I think, the most amazing moment of vanity. His moment just continues to go on. If you would, ETP, do me the honors. When asked this week about any regrets in his career.
That's the best part. I don't know that he was asked. I think this was just an unsolicited statement.
There's a statement that needs to be made. You all need to hear it. And if I could, let me just try to see if I can work up my inner Antonio Brown here for a second. I got to work up my inner Antonio Brown. And in his own voice, notice that this is sincerely AB that offers this post voluntarily to the world. And he says, my biggest regret in my career doesn't involve calling my GM a cracker or showing up to the Raiders camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet.
What does that even mean?
Or throwing rocks at that doggone UPS driver. No. And it definitely doesn't involve taking my shirt off and doing a victory lap around Jet Stadium mid-game while throwing up the deuces. My biggest regret is that I'll never get to see me, Antonio Brown, play a game live. Sure, I can watch the game afterwards, but I can't imagine what that was like for you all to see something like that. Like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rocks. Lord have mercy. My cousin then took Vane to a whole new level. Just when I thought that you couldn't get more Vane, my man had upped the ante. In retirement funds, his biggest regret is that he wasn't able to reap the benefits to see AB. I bet y'all can't find nothing more vain than that. My man AB just took it like we are as receivers, we're divas, but that's like diva squared. That's diva cubed right there. That's diva on a whole new stratosphere. The man said his biggest regret in retirement is that while he was playing, he never got to see himself live. Yeah, you could DVR, but that ain't the same thing as seeing me play live.
I just love how he he listed his greatest hits. He's just like, it wasn't this. It wasn't, but wait, it wasn't this. It wasn't, he didn't say it wasn't me throwing chairs off the balcony of the hotel, like all the other stuff that he went through, but he threw out some hits. But the craziest thing about this is he didn't say this to anybody. He said this to himself. This isn't from a podcast. This isn't on Good Morning America. This is just him saying, you know what? I got something that I need the world to know.
I need to get
because I think I'm better than
Antonio Brown on his biggest regret.
This is investment advice. On today's episode of Retirement Funds, he just gave you investment advice. Never miss out on seeing me live. That's what he just said.
I just feel I regret that. I regret that I'll never get to do it. I wonder what that was like for y'all. It had to be like watching the Beatles or Jesus perform at Red Rock. I don't even know what Red Rock is.
But how do you regret it? Like, if you could do it over, what would like the fact that he can't? Like, the premise of that is like, how do you regret to something where you're like, if I could only have done it a different way?
The man figured out how to get to camp late in a hot air balloon with frozen feet. He could figure it out. He gonna figure it.
I forgot about that. I thought, like, he doesn't say he resurfaced all this where you're like, oh yeah, I forgot how crazy he really was.
Right. Yeah, like my man is like the depth of detail in that. I got there late. First of all, I want y'all to know I got there late, and I was in a hot air balloon.
My feet
with frozen feet. Top that. Run till that. Antonio Brown, my brother, on behalf of all receivers.
Real men of genius.
But was that him like his strategy of like, all right, this is how I'm gonna get another deal. I got it. I'm gonna put out this press release. I'm gonna clean up my image, and I'm gonna tell them that I don't regret all those regrettable things, but that I'm ashamed that I'm not able to see myself play. So let's get me another 1-year contract.
And then guess who he hangs out with? Kanye. Imagine those two in the room trying to hog up the space to talk about themselves. Like, bro, hold on. You've been talking about yourself for 6 minutes, man. Let me sneak a few minutes in there. It's time to talk about me. I don't know. AB, you might have took the crown on this one, brother. You went further than I would even have expected you in your vanity. Shout out to you, AB.
Yo, it took me at least 4 days. I was like, this isn't real. Like, this is a parody. I thought this was like just a complete fabrication. I didn't believe it for days.
When you first read it, you're thinking, man, people be going too far, man. Like, it's not that bad. Dude is just, you know what I'm saying? He believes in himself.
Yeah.
And then I saw it posted by AB, and I'm like, nah, fam. This can't be life. Nah, fam. This can't be life. Like, what happened to take his phone? He needs somebody around him at all times. And when he's thinking about posting something, they just at least review the document, review the text, review the tweet, review the Instagram caption. Don't let him send it. Don't let him hit send. in the receiver room, because we ain't done yet, my man Terrell Owens. And it's amazing because Terrell Owens is from Alabama, Mississippi. He's from the South. But according to him, this is his first real live interaction with a Karen. The quick summation is Terrell Owens is pulling up to his mailbox in his development, and this lady tells him to slow down. There's a bunch of very aggressive words exchanged. Terrell Owens then throws on the camera and records all of it live. And he says a record number of times, "This is a real live Karen. This ain't never happened to me before, y'all. I'm just amazed. This is a real live Karen." But he's capturing the whole thing. The lady, I guess, called him some names, laughed at him and said, basically, "You're the subject of all our HOA meetings. We know there's a lien on your property. That's why you're living in this community." And he took issue with that. Like, "What you mean I'm living in this poor community or regular community? You my neighbor. You living here too." I think he handled it well, because if you heard the story versus seeing the video, you would automatically assume, just like Antonio Brown, that Terrell Owens was the one who provoked the situation and was the bad guy. Because he recorded it, he was not the villain. We got to see that indeed this lady put on fake crocodile tears when the officer got there, and Terrell Owens handled himself well. This is an example where I think a live video saved somebody from ultimately being just thrown in the court of public opinion as guilty as charged. But I was shocked that Terrell Owens seemed shocked that there really was this type of vibe with Karens. Great video, unfortunate, but this is the world we still live in. I don't know if you guys got a chance to see it, but quickly in this episode of Retirement Funds, we see that in retirement, that's what it is. What, Jay-Z, you still a new, right? He was treated like not Terrell Owens, the Hall of Famer. He was treated like the black guy in the neighborhood that people don't want in the neighborhood.
Yeah. Where does he live now?
This was in Florida. I'm embarrassed to say it was in South Florida.
So that's the part where I'm just not surprised, unfortunately.
Don't you do that. But don't you sit up here with this Boston Celtics hat on and disrespect Florida. Don't you do that. Do that.
Oh, because Florida has an impeccable reputation.
Yeah, we second to y'all. We the second most racist place. How about that? Y'all get the crown. We get the silver medal. But T.O. really seemed genuinely shocked. So I was shocked that he was shocked. And he kept saying, "This is my first real live experience with a Karen." And I think the lady's name was Kim. And she was really hot. Is Karen, have we overplayed the term? Because he called her a Karen a million times. She's a Karen.
It's pretty soon white women like gonna feel like they're gonna try to equate that to the N-word, and they're gonna give you one right back. And you know what you gonna do?
Counter punching like a mug.
It's gonna counter punch, and then somebody gonna be. Then there's gonna be some stuff like we saw in the. We should send that out. We should play that video.
That's petty. That's petty McPetty though. The lady's like, "I know you got a lien on your property.
You got a lien on your house too. You don't own a free and clear. Everybody got a lien.
Everybody got some sort of encumbrance." Yeah, but it was amazing. Yeah, it was amazing that
you live down here with us because you spent all your money. You down here
spent all your money.
That's
basically what she was saying. In this episode of Retirement Funds, that's basically the approach that the Karen was taking. She was saying, "You spent all your money, so you got to live amongst the regular people." And I think T.O. handled it well by just hitting record. Think about how many times and how many neighborhoods, how many former athletes that had to go through something similar just because they were trying to live their life. And that's what T.O. says. Like, "What you mean I'm driving fast? I'm pulling up to the mailbox that's right here. How fast could I be driving? I just pulled up to the mailbox that's right here. Like, I can't be driving 60 and going to get my mail." So, but think about how many of those conversations and interactions didn't get recorded.
Can you imagine looking down on somebody because they're equal to you? Like, you spend all your money. You live down here with us. Right. So you look down on me because I'm the same as you. That's what we're doing now.
Hey, you know what?
You swim in the community pool. You don't have your own in the backyard.
what Hall of Famer gotta come here to get their mail? You just like us. You
do have your mailbox out here with all these common folk. People can touch your stuff.
Yeah, but it's interesting, man. Hey, Crit, I ain't messing with that. One of our live audience members says, "James Crit, when you married, you got a lien, player. I ain't messing with you." I dare any of y'all to say anything about that. I'm gonna let that one just hang in the
I don't
air.
understand what that
my
means.
life. I own my life free and clear. I don't
No,
have to leave.
yeah, I'm gonna say no hablo inglés. How about that?
Uh-huh.
Terrell Owens and my man Antonio Brown, they represent us well. And when it comes to Devo, them, they are in the retirement fund episode for various reasons. But it comes to, and I talk about the wide receiver room because the next story, I want to paint the picture. There is, for every college and professional team, you break down the team into position groups. And when you watch film and analyze what you did in practice and the games, it's normally it starts off in your position group. So at the University of Oklahoma, the Sooners, where one of their position groups is the wide receiver room, since we just finished talking about wide receivers, in the wide receiver room, Caleb Gundy, a coach that's been there, been coaching college football for 20 plus years. He's a position coach at Oklahoma, been there for a long time. I guess someone is, instead of paying attention, or he could tell they're distracted on their iPad, they're doing something other than football. Something other than football, something other than analyzing what they just saw and discussing football. And I guess the coach, he sees it and he knows that, nah, you wouldn't be smiling like that. We talking about zone coverages. So he goes and confiscates the iPad and reads what's on the screen. And in reading verbatim what's on the iPad screen, one of his receivers being distracted, multiple times he reads the N-word. According to him, he didn't even realize he had read it until afterwards, multiple times. But when reading said iPad, when you come across the N-word, and he probably said it with his chest too. He'd been waiting to get that one off. In a room full of N-word, I'm just joking. In a room full of young black men, that's a joke. In a room full of young black men, he's reading the N-word, and he gets summarily, he don't get fired, he resigns. In this episode of Retirement Funds, he is now led to retirement because he read the N-word several times in front of a room full of receivers. And I ask you, should that be a fireable offense? Reading verbatim the N-word.
Maybe the text was in Spanish and he didn't realize he was reading it. To be honest with you, I just don't understand. Like, you're a grown man. You've been in this world, in this country for so long. You see where we are. Like, how could you just not read that? Like, not say, you know what I'm saying? Like, I know you're mad, you're worked up or whatever, but like, you realize he had to set back many times and say, why did that dude do that and lose his job? You've had this career for all this time. You couldn't just resist. I know you're mad at the dude, but you know, you say you should be yelling at the dude for, as a coach, you should be yelling at him for using the language. And you should be saying, I'm not even going to read the words that he's saying. Like, compose yourself a little bit. Now you don't have a job. Season about to start. Next couple weeks, we got games, and you at the house.
Now you don't have a job. Now you don't have a career. You can't hire him. You see what happened to Urban Meyer trying to hire the racist strength coach at Ohio State.
And the worst part about it is, like, it's just poor judgment. I'm not convinced this dude is a racist coach, right? He used poor judgment. He read the words. It's real poor judgment.
Are you convinced that he's used the word several times before in order to read it and let it?
I don't know nothing about him, so I'm not going to go there. I couldn't recognize him. Never heard him before. He read it.
If you saw a word that you found offensive and it's on a piece of paper and you got to read it, you're going to know you're offended by it. He's at least not offended by it.
Some people justify, just like dudes when NWA came out. I had to check a few dudes for saying the name of it because they're fascinated by it. The fact that there's a word that they're not supposed to say, so if they find an excuse to say it, I don't know that necessarily makes him a racist person. It just makes him an idiot. He's thinking, I'm not racist. I'm reading it, what he wrote. You wrote it. I'm not reading it. I'm going to embarrass you by saying this. Just dumb. I'm not gonna again. I don't know him. I'm not cutting for him either. I'm not saying that he's not a racist, but I'm saying I don't know nothing about him. So for me to say it, but for you to look, I hope he's racist. Here's my thing: because if you lost your job because you just have
make
really
it worth
poor
it.
judgment, I prefer for the fact that you were a racist person and that you just couldn't resist and it finally came out. But if you're not a racist and you just are too stupid to realize in this day and age that you can't say that, you're a dummy. You're a big dummy.
They probably did fire him for stupidity. Not fire him. He resigned. He resigned after they moved all his stuff out of his office and changed the locks and had security come and tap him on
Hey
the
man,
shoulder.
since y'all did all that, I quit. I'll show you.
Y'all around here tripping.
I quit.
ETP. Am I tripping to say that he's at least comfortable with the word? The crazy part is if one of y'all sent in the note, hey man, let's do this. We do pre-show stuff, and y'all wrote something out and wanted me to read it, and I got to the N-word, I would just say N-word. And that just means that I got respect enough for the audience that not bring them into how I have conversations behind closed doors. Whether I use it or not in common conversations with my boys, that's my business. But I'm gonna be smart enough not to say. I don't say it on. I'm calling it N-word. I'll do that. I'm gonna do something. I'll make an adjustment. To read that word in front of a whole bunch of people and a whole room full of young brothers, man. At a minimum, I just think he's very comfortable. I don't want to call him a racist, but he's real comfortable with the word. I'll say that. ETP, am I tripping?
I don't know, but the thing that's crazy about it is one. So Louis C.K., another person that's dealing with his own issues of cancellation because of acts that he did, but he had a really insightful joke about he gets mad when people say the N-word because you're taking the responsibility away from yourself and making other people say it in their heads. Like I say N-word, but in your head you're saying, oh, he just said nigger. So just the whole idea of,
right,
how this all works. It's the idea that there's this total monopoly. I understand why and how we've gotten here, but I would absolutely propose a trade where he didn't call somebody, he didn't use that word against anybody. He didn't weaponize it in that way. To Flo's point, we know there's enough examples to know that if you're not black, you do not say this word. But if you are Dominican, you say it way more than any black person. but other than that, like if you're
that's in the Dominican white, bylaws.
Yeah, in New York, that's what it is.
You ain't lying. You ain't lying there, boy.
But if you're white, you don't even read it. You don't even read it silently. You skip over that word. You don't even comprehend that word. Like that's the rule.
The one rule to live by if you're white.
Right. It's the one rule to live by, but it's a crazy rule.
Just don't say it.
But I would propose a trade. I would be willing to vote and ratify the Constitution of Social Protocol to allow anybody to say the word not against somebody else if we could remove other very impactful elements of systemic and social racism. Like
I feel you on that.
Let's use that energy for other things.
I'm with you on that. Like you not using a word to me is less impactful than making sure that brothers get an opportunity at a career.
Right. Like I need to be able to get a lien or a mortgage.
I'm with you on that. I'm with you on that. If there is such a trade-off for their credits, if you will, you can have that one. As long as a brother gets a real opportunity to have a career and ascend in that career and get the right mentorship and get the right opportunity, I hear you on that. Because it's form over substance. You not using the word is form. Substance is making sure people get opportunities, real opportunities. Substance is when I get pulled over, I feel safe. Like I'm with you on that.
Right.
But at the same time,
right.
This
you
wasn't
can say
an exchange.
It, but I get pulled over respectfully and don't have to fear for my life. I'm good with that. I'll even give you a couple draft picks. We're good.
Say it with your chest. Go ahead. Say it with your chest. Well, this particular coach said it with his chest, and he up out of there. I agree with you. He got fired for stupidity. And let's go talk about stupidity. Quick transition, because I don't like messing with people's legal issues until they come to full fruition. Court of public opinion is going to throw them under the bus. But 2 running backs. We went to the running back room now. We're done with the receivers. We're in the running back room now. My man Marshawn Lynch got a DUI. I don't even know why he's driving. I didn't understand it. It sounded like he was not drunk, but drunk. All of them Hennessy comments from the podcast going to come back to hurt him when it comes to these conversations about him being drunk. And then Frank Gore. Frank Gore got an assault charge, apparently, or allegedly, dragged a naked woman across a hotel hallway by her hair. I don't know what's going on in the running back room, man. Again, innocent till proven guilty. So we're not going to adjudicate it here. But in retirement, fellas, both of them should be definitely Frank Gore's first ballot Hall of Fame. Marshawn Lynch, I don't think is first ballot. I'm not certain Marshawn Lynch makes it in. What do y'all think?
I mean, just the fact I actually don't care about his stats, but this man has probably the top 2 steamrolling runs of all time. Like what was it? Earl Campbell, when he hit the guy so hard, his jersey came off. Like that was like iconic. And then Marshawn Lynch is like, you know what? I'm going to knock down every single player on the other team and grab my nuts and jump into the end zone in the playoffs. And then I'm going to do it next season. Like, I don't care what his stats are. He has 2 of the greatest runs by a running back in the history of the NFL. And just for that alone, and then went and eat Skittles. And just for that alone, he deserves to go first ballot Hall of Fame.
And after all of that, he eats Skittles. I mean, he's just a real freaking, the juxtaposition of that is just amazing. He's one big, interesting dilemma. But he's in trouble right now. I hate to see it because although Marshawn Lynch is sort of considered a bad guy, if you will, because of his relationship or lack thereof with the media, Marshawn Lynch stayed out of trouble. He might have had Hennessy in his Gatorade bottle, but he stayed out of trouble for the most part. So in retirement, I hate to see this because it shouldn't, but it does impact whether or not people make it into the Hall of Fame if he is a first ballot guy. Same with Frank Gore. Frank Gore, I think,
What E, are you there? My man has prepaid. See, when you have prepaid internet, sometimes it just goes out. You got to refresh your card. At least your mouth ain't all the way open. You back?
I'm back, man. Sorry about that.
Prepaid internet, brother.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on with my internet today.
Hey guys, if you see that we do this show on a limited budget, we're gonna start one.
We'll start a GoFundMe.
GoFundMe. What do you call the other thing when you
increase your bandwidth?
Yeah, we gotta do something to get his bandwidth right, because that was bad.
I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna go ahead. You know what? It's one of the things you gotta sit there and just take these punches. I was just sitting there with my mouth open. That's what it looked like on screen.
It looked like y'all this went all the way open.
Hey, that's what I get. I'm talking about their legal troubles, and my screen freezes, and you see what will be my mugshot. Look like a mugshot.
Maybe Marshawn Lynch, say, "Oh, he never spent his money, so maybe he'll hook you."
I say this. The reason I hate to see these brothers get in trouble because these are the type of things that the voters use and mess up the Hall of Fame decisions. Mm-hmm. We talked about Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens should have been a first ballot Hall of Famer, but he had all these other things going on. I hope that this doesn't impact it. Frank Gore could basically, I don't want to make the old crazy statement that Donald Trump made, but we know the statement he made about killing somebody on Fifth Avenue and still, being the guy. Frank Gore would have to do a lot to prevent himself from being a first ballot Hall of Famer. Marshawn Lynch, to me, is not a first ballot Hall of Famer, and I don't know if he makes it in. But either way, I don't want their status as Hall of Famers impacted by this. So I wish both of them nothing but the best. If indeed Frank Gore is caught on camera dragging a woman naked across a hotel hallway, he in trouble. He in trouble. That's a no matter what. But
That'll keep you out. I mean, that's keep you
And
out.
they said Atlantic City. Atlantic City got more cameras. The only place in the world that got more cameras is Vegas. And they probably only got a few more cameras than Atlantic City. They don't mess around with capturing stuff a la Ray Rice, and they capture stuff at casinos, y'all. Don't mess up at casinos. We've all had a weak moment, but I hope for his sake that indeed this is just rumor. We are discussing Hall of Fame, and how dare we not throw it over to our resident Hall of Fame weekend guy. There are three of us that make up the Ball Hog Sports Talk crew, but there's only one that's been to a Hall of Fame ceremony, NFL Hall of Fame ceremony. There are three of us that make up the Ball Hog Sports Talk crew, but there's only one of us that brushed elbows with a whole bunch of Hall of Famers, took pictures, posted them too, just acted real ignorant, acting a donkey, made us all jealous. I'm like, look at the Big Flow show. There's three of us that are a part of the Ball Hall Sports Talk crew, but there's only one of us that played with the Hall of Famer and calls him a friend. I call him a friend, but I didn't play with him. Calls him a teammate.
Two Hall of Famers.
So you play with two Hall of Famers. See, you gonna act
Same recruiting class.
You really acting a donkey around here. With no further ado, Canton, Ohio's finest, the Big Flow Show. Tell us about Hall of Fame enshrinement weekend, bro. What's up? I see your pictures.
I see you out here wearing t-shirts and stuff. You know what I'm saying? I don't know when I can wear it again, so I figured I'd wear it on the show. This is for charity.
Washington made his head a little bit smaller on the t-shirt.
Made a little smaller. This is you know how much this t-shirt costs? $97. It was a donation to charity. Because it was a donation. Again, this isn't something that you're going to see me wear a lot, but I'm proud to have it. But it's for Bryant Young, the 97 Foundation for juvenile pediatric brain cancer or something like that. I'm not sure. I may have that wrong.
His daughter, right. He had a daughter that passed away from
cancer. So
from cancer.
We went. My wife and I took my wife to Canton this weekend. It was a great experience. You know, kind of once in a lifetime. Like I said, I had two teammates that I played with there in the Hall of Fame.
Well, I guess it wasn't once in a lifetime. Just go ahead and brag, bro. For you, it's twice in a lifetime. But for most of us,
no, I was going to say. So Jerome Bettis got inducted, and I wasn't invited to the event, so I didn't go. Brian,
when has that ever stopped you from going to an event that you weren't invited?
I don't know. You know what? There's a lot of people that are there that aren't invited. I'll feel weird to go to something. If I know you, like if I was just a fan, then you could just go because anybody can buy tickets. But to know you and you not to at least shoot me a text and be like, "Hey man, if you're free to buy a ticket," I feel funny showing up. So I didn't go to Jerome's. I heard it was a great event. You know, God bless. Congrats to him too. He's been in the Hall of Fame for a while now. But then when Bryant came in and invited me, I was very honored to be a part of this. You know, I always say Bryant Young is the reason why I'm doing podcasts because he kept me off the field. If I would have been on the field, I could have made some more money and I wouldn't have time for guys like you. So I would say
thanks. Am I supposed to say
thanks, BY?
Thank you, BY. Real minute.
Thanks to
right. No, but anyway,
that's why you gotta lean. That's why you gotta lean on your house.
That's why I gotta lean. That's why you don't own your house free because you live with all us regular people. So,
you get your mail right next to me, dog.
Great. BY is a great person. You know, the give a shout out to the class. They had Tony Baselli. Tony Baselli played 7 years in the NFL. And only 5 years was he not injured, and he made the Hall of Fame. That tells you how good somebody is. 5 years of football, and you killed so much that you were doing it. My senior year, we played against them in USC, and we tied them. This is how old we are. I'm older than hip hop, and I play college football when you could tie.
You're older than overtime.
I'm older than overtime. Way older than overtime, and. The funny thing was we're in the locker room and there's a guy named Jermaine Holden who was there this weekend. Big Drick. And here we tied them. So this is what they had Keyshawn Johnson, we tied. And everybody was in the locker room talking about Baselli and how much of a monster he was. And during the induction speech, they show like highlights. And then they stopped on the picture of Baselli blocking Jermaine, who's in the audience. And they leave it there for like 40 seconds. It's just sitting up there, and you can only see Jermaine's face and his little bit of his jersey, and Baselli's calmly blocking him. And after the game, Jermaine is in the locker room, and he's like, man, Baselli was blocking me, and I swear he said, don't try to fight the Reaper, just relax and let it go. Which is like old Scarface line. But we were after the game, man. We were dying in the locker room. He's like, Baselli, he's like, just relax and let it go. You trying to fight it.
Don't try to fight it.
Stop trying to fight it. That's one of the funniest moments. And I'm thinking, man, we were at the games. People's adrenaline's not even down yet. And this dude making jokes about how bad this dude was blocking him. So anyway, well, we had Tony Baselli in there, wide receiver, Clifford Branch from the Raiders, RIP Cliff Branch. I don't know exactly what year he died. Leroy Butler, even though he's a Packer, I got to give it to him.
I was in the locker room with Leroy Butler. My bad. I played with a Hall of Famer. Sorry.
He played with a Hall of Famer. He played with probably more Hall of Famers in pros.
Yeah, but Leroy Butler wouldn't know me if I literally.
Leroy Butler's a good story. He was born with 2 club feet, and he was pigeon-toed for a lot of his life. I didn't know club feet was something you could fix. But I guess I always just thought like your foot looked like a fist in your shoe or something. But anyway.
So you going to go fix yours?
So educate us, Big Flo.
Is that what you're saying?
How do you unclub a foot?
How do you unclub a foot?
Yeah, you got to reverse the process, man.
Yeah, to unclub it. But from club foot, look, anything is possible. Your kid born tomorrow with a club foot, he can be in the NFL Hall of Fame.
Now that we know we can unclub feet, the wonders of technology.
And this dude older than me, so he unclubbing feet. That was back in the day. And he grew up in the projects. So he unclubbed feet on Medicare, Medicaid, whatever you know. That's man, real man of genius. So he invented the Lambeau leap. He was the first one to ever do the Lambeau leap on 2 club feet. Gotta give it to him. So hey, Leroy Butler, man, he's a real man of genius. So then Sam Mills also got in. He's been dead 17 years, died of cancer. Sam Mills,
hey man, that's Division 3, Montclair State, New Jersey in the house. What's up, Sam Mills?
He didn't get in the NFL till he was 27 years old and stayed in there for quite some time at 5'9", playing linebacker. So for all you people who say you're too short, you probably are, but you're not as short as Sam Mills and doing what he did to get in the Hall of Fame.
Imagine you short with 2 club feet. And then we really talking about
if you can Lambeau leap. If you can do the Lambeau leap, that's kind of high up there.
Sure.
Richard Seymour, who I thought was a great football player, he got in. And none other than BY. They also put in Dick Vermeil on the first time ever. Art McNally was a ref, first time got in there. So I thought it was a great event. Everyone did a great job with their speeches. It's like they're all professional orators. But Bryant Young's speech, I think a lot of people talked about, obviously to me because of the connection. But, he talked about going through, I think he has 6 children. I think he had 3 boys and 3 girls, or 6 or 5. I'm sorry if I got that wrong. But he had a son that had complained of headaches. Found out he had a brain tumor. They got the brain tumor. I remember talking to Bryant when it happened and saying, they got it. He won't be able to play football anymore, but they got it, and they'll be fine. And then like a year later, he's like, man, I got headaches again. This time it spread. They couldn't go back and operate. And, if you want to see strength, and I'll try to find this video, there's a show that Bryant and his wife, Kristen, did. I don't know who the interviewer was, but the 2 of them and their son, and they sat down and talked about their son's impending death and the fact that he was sick and how they got closer to Christ because of this and how they've talked to their kids about it and what they say. And I've always respected Bryant as a football player and looked up to him as a football player because he's a monster. But as a man and a father, to be able to see him sit down and show the strength to take this moment, obviously it was sad, obviously hurt, but like kind of take this moment to help other people grow and talk about what's going on with his son, talk about how he approached it with his family, talk about how he's preparing his son to transition. And his son died at 14 years old. And to see the power and the strength of Bryant's parenting and Kristen's parenting to their son, and to see his strength that he showed, talking about how he talks to his little brothers about it and how his little brother was like, man, you're getting all these gifts. I want to have cancer too. And he's like, no, you don't want to have this. These gifts are fine, but you'd rather not have cancer. This is something that's going to make me die and I'll be dead soon or whatever. I've just never seen that type of strength in the family before. And I admire him for that. I don't envy, obviously, the situation he's in, but I admire the strength that he can put forth. And he gave a speech about that. And I swear there wasn't a dry eye in the place. And, Brian had got snubbed twice on the Hall of Fame. And then a bunch of offensive linemen from the NFL started writing letters saying, I can't believe this guy's not in the Hall of Fame. He was an animal. So he finally got in here on the 20 in the class of 22. And as he walked off the stage, he said, you know what? Kobe, who was his son, he made sure he said his name and his name would live on. But Kobe's favorite number was 22. And that was just like unbelievably poetic how it ended. So it was a touching moment. I love being there. I love being a part of it. I'm happy Bryant's finally in the Hall of Fame. And, it was a great weekend. Now, on the lighter note, after the Hall of Fame.
Hold up, man. Shout out to BY, man. Shout out to you for being there. Shout out to friendship and the brotherhood that is Notre Dame, brother. I ain't in tears right now, but I felt the moment, my brother. So let's make sure. Shout out to him, man. But go ahead. I'll let you get the lighter note. But I wanted to make sure we get
on the lighter note. We got to go back to the receiver room. So when you go to the NFL Hall of Fame, so there's a million things that they'll take your money for. You can go to the Hall of like a black tie event that you can go to. We weren't on that. I just did the one where they do the enshrinement and then there's a party afterwards. So everyone goes and meets, and then they get you on these buses and they take you to the different parties. So there's, I think there's 8 different parties going on that people go into. So the parties are thrown by usually the team or a sponsor or whatever. I think that the 49ers threw this party for them. Boys to Men performed. It was a real nice little intimate scene. It's the Boys to Men came out there. It was really cool. But then a lot of the Hall of Famers make their rounds. So they all got their jackets on. So T.O. comes in. He's got on a sweatshirt, a hoodie sweatshirt, but he got the jacket on over the top and sunglasses. It's dark as hell in there. He's walking around taking pictures of everybody. Boys to Men starts performing. I guess suddenly he's a backup dancer. Next thing you know, you look up and T.O. is on stage walking around with Boys to Men. I'm like, if you don't get your narrow butt off the stage. But he's in there. This is my day. This day.
He was recovering from his incident with Karen.
Yeah,
man.
He was up there dancing with Karen. So it's crazy. Just, I try not to, having played football with a lot of people, I don't get really starstruck. I look at it and say, hey, that's cool, whatever. But when you're in a room full of Hall of Famers, I think there's 367 people there in the Hall of Fame after this class. When you get in there with a roof of Hall, people who've done it better than everybody else that does the game that I love so much and I've dedicated a large part of my life to, I had to take some pictures. I'm sorry. You know what I'm saying? I had to take some pictures. I gave myself a pass. I was like, man, I saw Richard Dent, Mike Singletary, Bruce Smith, Terrell Owens, obviously, got to see JB and BY in there. It just, every time you looked up, there was another dude with a gold jacket. I saw Warren Moon in there. A couple dudes, Megatron was in there. A couple guys didn't wear their jackets. They wanted to be a little incognito, but it was cool, and I was happy to be able to share that with my wife because she hears us, the stories. And when I'm with the fellas all the time, we talk about this player and that player, and, to see a lot of the old guys that we played with there. For me, it was actually especially special because the first time I wasn't the fattest dude in the room. You know what I'm saying? And see, y'all laugh, man, but that shit meant something to me, man.
The way you said it, it was deep, dog.
I could tell,
man. I'm like, there's so many people fatter than me out here. And I was happy that my wife got a chance to see that too. You know what I'm saying? That meant a whole lot to me, man, because it was so warm in there. People were coming out their jackets. People were sweating through their suit coats. I was like, okay, because my wife gets embarrassed if I start sweating. She's like, you sweat, embarrassing everybody. Wipe your forehead, right? But I'm like, look at this dude. He sweat.
Everybody in here sweating.
He sweat through his jacket. I ain't the only fat person in here.
We in here sweating.
So if y'all make someone else make the Hall of Fame next year, invite me so my wife can see.
I'm sweating it, man. Hearing it, I'm sweating the whole experience, bro. That was dope. Thank you for the story. If you don't mind, man, because we always do moments of silence for people who for whatever reason, if they died or had a situation, we do moments of silence here. I'd be remiss, man. We didn't do a moment of silence for Kobe. And I know Bryant Young going through that is like the example of strength, man. So shout out to him. Let's do a moment of silence for Kobe. Really powerful story, man. Love that BY made it in. Everyone loves BY. You don't meet anyone who doesn't say the most amazing things about him as a human being. So glad you got to experience it while ETP and I were among the local folks, the locals, who just don't get invited to that. The fact that you were there, Ball Hawk Sports Talk.
I got one more story I got to tell. It was just a
please
moment. So BY's up there. He's got his whole tribe in there. He's getting real deep. He's talking about Kobe again. He's talking about the DeBartolo family. First of all, DeBartolo is no taller than a Smurf He might be 4'7". I walked in there. It was amazing how little he was. I was so impressed how small he was and how accomplished this man could be at his sight. Anyway, so he's walking around.
Does he have club feet? That's all I want to know.
I don't know if he has feet. He might have hoofs. He was so little. But anyway, so he's talking about that family. He's thanking everybody. He's thanking us, the college guys that came, whatever. And he's like, going back. So, I mean, this speech is probably like a good 10, 15 minutes, right? Just from the heart speech. Everybody's quiet. It's right before the Boys to Men come on. We're ready to go. And he's like, my mother, God rest her soul. She died a few years back, whatever. And he's like, and my dad, I just got to say, I know my kids are here, man, but thanks for not pulling out. I was like, what? Everybody was like, are you kidding me? And I didn't know why I was a joker like that, but this dude thanks his father for not pulling out.
Oh, man.
I almost fainted. I'm like, did he? It only has one meaning, right? Is there something else? Oh, that was one of the funniest.
You tried to figure out if there's a double entendre there. There's got to be something else.
There's got to be something else. And then he introduced Boys to Men. Let's go, everybody. All right, ready, break. Let's go.
Oh, shout out to him, man.
So, hey, man, Dad, I know you're listening. I know you watch the show. I never said this to you, but thanks for not pulling out, man. I appreciate you, man. What the fuck? What are you doing? Anyway, now I've stolen it. I'll make it more famous than he did.
Oh, man, I love it. I love it. Retirement fun episode. Shout out to all the guys that got their Hall of Fame jacket, and in their retirement, they got rewarded for all the investments that they made into the game, man. And we all got rewarded to watch guys like Bryant Young play. So shout out to this year's class of Hall of Famers. I'm glad that we were well represented from the Ball Hawk Sports Talk to Canton, Ohio. We representing, baby. Let's talk about another Hall of Famer. This time, basketball Hall of Famer, Bill Russell. First time ever that an NBA number 6 in this case, has been retired across the NBA. I think Adam Silver got this right. Bill Russell, as we talked about last week ad nauseum, did so much for the game. So we don't have to relitigate that. But what we have now is Bill Russell retired. That number is retired across the NBA. You got Jackie Robinson. That number is retired across MLB. You got Wayne Gretzky. The number is retired across NHL. Whose number should be or could be ever retired across the NFL? Who do y'all say? No one has had it done yet, but if you think about the biggest impact on the game, you think about what players have done and what they've meant to the transformation of the game and what their impact was on the field and championships and Super Bowls and the one thing that I will say, the only stipulation to this conversation is ETP, you better not say Tom Brady. Every time we go talk about football.
See, the best part about this, just to totally interrupt you, is you project onto me so that you can say Tom Brady's name.
Hell no, no.
You're like, you better not say Tom Brady, who happens to be the greatest man that's ever walked this earth and is the greatest champion, but don't say no Tom Brady. Don't you talk about Tom Brady as the president of the Tom Brady fan club.
Tom Brady is not eligible for this conversation. Who in the NFL should get their number retired across the league?
See, the problem there with that question is, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
All right. The problem with the question, the Wayne Gretzky is the one that makes you kind of scratch your head. And the only reason why I say that is the reason why they did Jackie Robinson isn't because he's the greatest baseball player that ever lived. It's because he broke the color barrier. The reason why they just did Bill Russell is not because, it's a combination of the dominance that he had, but really it's because of just what he represented and how he carried himself. So Wayne Gretzky, if you think about, they never did Michael Jordan. And you would think, is Wayne Gretzky considered to be more of a GOAT than Michael Jordan in his respective sport? I don't think so. So that one's a head scratcher. When it comes to football, So you take a guy like Tom Brady, which is probably, let's just put him out there, people saying he's the GOAT. I think you have to add on to that, like dying while saving kids from a burning building or something like that. You know what I mean? There has to be some sort of a hero or social side to it, not just the best player there. You had to do something else, die tragically, and then they would do it. Like a Kobe Bryant type. You know what I mean? Like, okay, he died in a plane crash, whatever. There had to be some other catalyst to make it go for football, I think, to do it. I don't know if you see it that way. I don't think you could play your way into retirement out of in the league that way. Again, I don't know how Gretzky did it, but I just don't think that's enough. Would you agree?
Yeah, I don't know that it is interesting. Gretzky, it was purely just the result of him being a dominant player, but Robinson, Bill Russell, like great players, obviously Russell being arguably one of the greatest, but also the social impact.
Mm-hmm.
The thing that the NFL has done so successfully is, for its own benefit, has created, and maybe it's by design of the sport, but like no one player can be bigger than the league. You know, there is no face of the league in the way that you got the NBA, you got, even Major League Baseball kind of has that challenge now where there's not really a face of the league, but the NFL, it's always been about the shield, and they've been able to kind of maintain a little bit more prominence over the individual players. And because there's so many different positions, there's very few players play both ways, right? Like Deion Sanders is the most notable, and he didn't play both ways 100% of the time. And so because there's so much variety, I don't think that you're going to get, one player that just was utterly dominant, right? Like you got your Lawrence Taylors, you got your Tom Brady's, you got, Dan Marino's, the list goes on of people that were the most dominant at their position. But in terms of being transcendent with the game, and also then having that, greater social impact, it's hard. Like I don't think that the NFL really even lends itself to being able to do that. But if like Colin Kaepernick combined with Peyton Manning, and 30 years from now, maybe there's an opportunity there. I don't know, but there's just not one player that embodies all of that in one.
Very fair. I am finally back. My internet is tripping, but that is a part of the show.
You should be straight now.
Yeah, it should be straight. Should be good. I'm looking good now. That is a part of the show. When you do a live show, you have live consequences sometimes. So on this episode of Retirement Funds, I do like that discussion. The NFL has done that, protecting the shield. When you said Lawrence Taylor, that one I felt 56. I could see where they could do it, but Lawrence Taylor, because all the
way too many off the field.
Yeah, way too.
Also, you need more. You need all these numbers in the NFL. You can't retire them universally.
There's got 99 numbers, and there's 53 men on the roster, so you could be straight.
You could do it. And now they've opened up the whole batch of numbers where anybody can have any number. So
you think they'll start double numbering in the NFL?
Like they do in college? I don't think they ever do that. I don't think, and it'd be easier to do it because very few people, you can easily control offense, defense.
Nobody goes both ways.
ETP, right? There's no one goes both ways. There's special team units, so it's easier to do it. But I doubt it because
special teams kind of could get you.
Maybe. Let's hop into this Brooklyn Nets, man, because in this episode of Retirement Fund, we should talk about the Brooklyn Zoo, as my man ETP has coined it, because that's indeed what it is. I guess we can start with the story that's really not a story, because Kyrie has now denied it. But essentially, it was rumored the last several days, and they said it came from a reliable source, air quote, which means that it didn't come from a reliable source. What is a reliable source in sports now? But who are we not to talk about it? It was alleged that Kyrie wanted to negotiate a contract where he only had to play a maximum of 60 games, and that he would then have the option to take off when they did back-to-backs. And just like Antonio Brown, when you first read the story, you thought, nah, this got to be fake. But you didn't know it was fake because Antonio Brown has been very good at diminishing the reputation of Antonio Brown. The same thing is true with Kyrie. When I first read it, I'm like, no, who in their right mind would negotiate this? But then I'm thinking, this is Kyrie. Kyrie gets invited to the narcissistic club with Antonio Brown, with Kanye West. Kyrie probably could get invited. He goes to the back room where they got special narcissistic behavioral type treats. So when you read it, you thought that maybe indeed Kyrie had tried to negotiate said contract. Why wouldn't you when he took a day off to go to his sister's birthday party? Why wouldn't you when last year he decided, because of his health concerns, not to get the vaccine? And then sort of like, hey, I'm doing what I do. Why wouldn't you when he's been very cavalier about what his responsibility and obligations are to the game of basketball and to the fan base? Why wouldn't you believe it? Kyrie's come out and denied it since, so I'll just at least have to accept that as fact. But how wild is that Kyrie is planning for retirement while also trying to get a contract extension, right? You talk about retirement funds. He wants to make sure that in retirement he's healthy. In retirement he's wealthy, but in retirement he's not fatigued and burnt out for the game. If indeed you are to believe what he has denied in the rumored contract negotiation. When you first read it, did you think it was real, ETP?
I still think that there's some relevant truth swimming around in that. I mean, this is not unheard of, right? Roger Clemens, very different situation, but he was at the end of his career. He negotiated a deal with the Houston Astros that he would only pitch home games, right? Because he won't spend time with his family, all of that. Like, it's not outside the realm of possibility. Do I think that he walked into that? Well, one, they didn't agree on an extension, so there's a reason that didn't happen. Obviously, there had to be a conversation about it, and he hasn't played 60 games. He clearly doesn't generally play back-to-backs. He wouldn't, he didn't get the vaccine, so he couldn't play away games. All of these different things, and so my assumption is that Brooklyn probably wanted to have some level of incentives in there to say, you will be like, we will withhold a certain amount of money if you don't hit these benchmarks, which might include playing more than 60 games, which might include having to play the back-to-backs. And Kyrie saying, like, I can't commit to that. I'm not willing to commit to that. I could see that scenario happening. Fair. Versus him coming in and be like, I'm only playing 60 games, maybe, right, and I'm not playing any back-to-backs. He didn't
lead with it, but you feel like he had to respond to it.
I feel like, I mean, look, if I'm the Brooklyn Nets, I need to protect that investment, right? And say, you're not going to just disappear and go like sit on city council meetings on Zoom and not show up to practice and not play and like have personal reasons that you're just taking time off and never answer to the public or to the organization. So we need a structure. If we're going to invest in you in any way, then we need to protect that investment, and there need to be incentives or, benchmarks in this contract for us to trust to have some level of accountability here. So I could completely see that, because if they're willing to have the conversation at all, there would be all types of stipulations in that contract. If I'm going to have that contract conversation with Kyrie Irving, who already has destroyed 2.5 organizations, and we're basically at a crossroads of, are you going to destroy this organization, or are we going to have guardrails within your contract that prevent you from creating a further disaster than you already did? So
I see what you did there, but I hope you're not including in that 2.5 the Boston Celtics, because he might have made y'all better. He got y'all to this point. He got Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown ready for this run that they've been on.
I don't know where you keep coming up with this narrative, but you forget selectively that he criticized them publicly about they don't listen, the young players aren't showing any respect, all of this craziness.
Tough love.
So you can say that he was a great mentor and he built champions, but there's a reason why he wasn't able to stick it out, and it was because he thought that he deserved a lot more prestige than he was given, and he wasn't able to earn the trust and respect of his teammates in a way that made them successful in Boston. So that's one. The half is Brooklyn, and they're negotiating if he's going to destroy the other half of the organization, which is pretty much hanging at the end of a thread.
You know what, Kyrie, I wish I could defend you, but how do I defend you? The Big Flow Show. When you first read it, did you think it was real?
Yes.
You thought it was real?
Absolutely. Right,
It's the same with the Antonio Brown thing. You get stuck in between, like, this can't be real, but maybe
Antonio Brown thing. I had more pause because it was actually more outlandish. But the thing with Kyrie, I mean, he just did the same. He just wants to get on paper what he just did this past year. How many games did he play this year?
But that was health. Some of that was.
But y'all was cool with that. Y'all still paid. My check still came, man. Let me see if I can get this on paper.
Right.
I ain't surprised at all. 60 games I thought was generous for him. I played most of the season.
Right. In this episode of Retirement Funds, Kyrie, man, you're an interesting dude, man. Whatever retirement holds for him, I know that he is going to be at the top of the list of priorities when it comes to Kyrie. Going to look out for Kyrie, and I ain't mad at him. At the end of the day, hey, got to look out for self. He does a very good job of that. Tough to be in a team sport, always looking out for self. But Kyrie, I'm going to take you at your word, and he says he didn't do that. So I wanted to give a special shout out.
It's way too specific, though, fam. That he didn't do it. You got too many details for him to say he didn't say that. Who invented this conversation then? Back-to-backs, 60 games. It's got too much details to be fake, but that's just me.
Way too credible, too. Like, look, right on message for Kyrie. It's like, that's your brand, dog.
Like Jesus at Red Rocks, baby.
Red Rocks. Jesus. Red Rocks. I wanted to, before we got out of here, man, shout out to James White, who has announced his retirement in this episode of Retirement Funds. James White, who plays for that team up in New England, is also a byproduct of the illustrious St. Thomas Aquinas of the greater Fort Lauderdale, Florida area. We set the standard. James White, great career there in New England. Young, not young. He's this is in his 9th year, I think. But undersized back, wasn't projected to do much. Had a heck of a career. 3-time champion there in New England. And shout out to him, man. It's good to see when good guys win. He's been very close to my nephew. They were classmates at St. Thomas. Known the kid since he was a young man. He's still a young man. But had a great career. Wish he would have had it somewhere else. That's just me being a hater. But he had a great career, so shout out to him, man, in his retirement. Sounds like he's going on to do great things. Has been a great community member and done phenomenal things for both his community there in New England and back home in Fort Lauderdale. So shout out to James White in his retirement. Any parting shots before we get out of here, man? My first weekend, we started early because this first weekend of football, going down here to South Jersey, this tournament. So shout out to everybody who's transitioning into football from whatever they were doing before. For us, it was basketball. For others, it was lacrosse. It's now football season. So that's my shout out. I'll go with you in the Central Time Zone. Any shout outs before we get out of here for the day and close up the Retirement Fund episode? What you got, Big Flow Show?
I mean, just based off the stories that we read today, man, I just think I should give a shout out to myself. I mean, if you think about it, like at this point in the show, I haven't heard anybody else do it. So, I mean, shout out to me, man. I mean, who else? I wish I could be out there listening to what I have to say live. What it's like. So, real talk though. Next couple weeks gonna be tough. I don't know if I'm gonna be out here, so don't think none of it. I'm not doing nothing special, not moonlighting, but headed off to Spain next Friday. And then going to be in Ireland the Friday after that for my son's first game. So Big Flow Show will be thinking about y'all, even though I just third person myself. But I'll be thinking about y'all while I'm out there. But yeah,
as long as you don't read from the first person while saying the N word, you good. You can refer to yourself as in the third.
That's the Big Flow Show.
Yeah. ETP, any parting shots, my brother, before we get out of here for the day?
Have a great weekend. I'm not going anywhere special, but I'm not going to spend that much time with y'all either.
Man, y'all both just, my gosh, man. What they put in y'all coffee this morning?
In the air.
Gunpowder? My gosh.
And shout out to Big Flo, because I get to see him every week live.
What is it like?
It's like Jesus at Red Rocks.
Is it like Jesus at Red Rocks? Where is this Red Rocks place? Is it in Spain anywhere? Because I'm going out there.
Yeah.
Colorado.
Take a selfie. You said Jesus and Red Rocks. Guys, it has been an amazing show as always, man. I love when we get together and do this Ball Hog Sports Talk where sports, business, entertainment collide. We do it one way and one way only, rough, rugged, and raw. Y'all make sure y'all prepare for next Friday. I don't know if we're going to be this early, but we will be next Friday at some point. Set your alarms. Make sure you come back to the building because the Ball Hog Sports Talk is where it's at. We ask you humbly, like we ask every week, please like, please comment, please share, please tag a friend, hell, tag a foe, tag anybody that you know, and please subscribe to both our YouTube channel and to our podcast. In this episode of Retirement Funds, we encourage everybody to be very cognizant of the fact that you can't work forever, so put some money aside. Make sure that that money is going to work for you and that you get some interest compounded off of that so you are ready for retirement until your sunset. But when it comes to sports, business, entertainment, there's a lot of retirement stuff this week, and we discussed it. If you didn't hear it, make sure you play it back. I am your boy, B. Brown, ESQ, a.k.a. the Ball Hog, a.k.a. the Mouth of the South, a.k.a. Mr. Excessive Celebration, a.k.a. Barazy. That's right, all of them nicknames, just like Antonio Brown. I love me, but I love Ball Hog Sports Talk even more, so make sure you come back next week. And with that, the Retirement Funds episode is over. Enjoy your weekend. We is out. Peace.